right, welcome everyone. Welcome, Ged. A little sci-fi movie came out this past week.
Yeah, it's weird. Not talking Star Wars, but this was worth a get together. I would say, yeah.
So I saw Dune Friday night, and yourself, you're fresh off seeing it.
Fresh off seeing it last night. Went to the 6:00 show, the AVX theater here in Guelph, so I could enjoy it in Atmos. I did not go to the IMAX one, which was kind of a bummer. I thought about making the drive out to Mississauga for it, but I did not.
I still have not done an IMAX screening for any of these big blockbusters. I drove from where I live. Instead of going to the local theater, I drove 40 minutes away to get the AVX screen and the D-box seats.
Yeah.
But yeah, that's as close as I can get.
Apparently at the IMAX ones, they're showing it in 70 millimeter IMAX.
Yeah.
Oh, the last time I watched Oppenheimer in 70 millimeter IMAX, that was the last time I did that, and it was unexplainable.
So Dune Part 2. I don't know if we talked about Dune Part 1. Just quickly give me your thoughts on Part 1.
Well, the feedback on Part 1 was that it was a bit of a slow burn. What I loved about Part 1 was they did such a better job telling the story. I mean, everyone remembers Dune from the 80s. And in my mind, it felt like the first half of the movie took 80% of the movie. And then, to me, it felt rushed.
Yeah, then he rides a giant worm in at the end, and then bam, bam, bam.
Yeah, and I loved that in the first one, they did such a good job developing the story. I mean, the casting in this movie was just so brilliant. From Brolin to Momoa. Is it Isaac, whatever his name is, who played the father?
Oscar Isaac, yeah.
Oscar Isaacs, yeah.
The Duke.
I didn't know Timothée Chalamet to be fair beforehand. But he was just so good. That's a tough role to play, because you have to go from, spoiled weenie who practices with his trainers to what he eventually becomes. And I mean, I think he just did such a great job. It also really, for me, solidified the fact that Zendaya really is the triple threat. She is so disgustingly talented in so many facets. I mean, we all got to know her as MJ in Spider-Man. I'm a big Euphoria fan. You can't find two more contrasting characters than Rue from Euphoria, and then MJ in Spider-Man, and then here she is in this sci-fi movie, and she nails it. Her range in terms of how she's able to flip her emotions on a dime, and obviously we'll get into more in the second one. I mean, she in my opinion has to be the most underrated actor in Hollywood right now.
Yeah,
I just think her range is insane.
Yeah, agree on everything with the cast and stuff like that. I reviewed Part 1 on my channel. I can't remember what I gave it. It was either a 9 or a 10 out of 10. Or maybe 9.5. But anyways, Part 1 had the impossible task of world building, right?
Yeah.
How are we going to visually establish this world?
Arrakis.
Build up all these characters in these houses, and the drama and the tensions and the political intrigue and everything that's going on. And not only that, but have it be a good to great movie, have the box office success for them to actually greenlight your Part 2.
Yeah.
Right. So I think he nailed everything. I think Denis Villeneuve did everything he set out to do in Part 1. As you said, it was a slow burn. I love Denis Villeneuve and his movies. I appreciate slow burns. I think they properly build up to payoff, right? And Part 2 now, we get to see him fully unleash, all that stuff that Part 1 that he put into place, he could then just go full force with it in Part 2.
Yeah.
And that's not to say in Part 2, it was like this action-packed, going from Alien to Aliens. There was still plenty of world building and small character moments and a lot of slow pacing, but in the right like, the right way to do it, so to speak.
Yep.
But then the action set pieces, obviously there's more in part 2, and man, are they incredible. Incredible.
Yeah, it's got this incredible Christopher Nolan / Blade Runner soundtrack vibe to it, and I am absolutely here for all of it.
Yeah, this movie was probably, I was trying to think. I don't normally sit in D-Box. I don't know if D-Box is the same terminology around the world. Is it? Yeah.
Yeah.
No, I know you do, but if someone in the US,
the
saying it
3D
in D-Box. Anyways, it's a seat that moves with the vibration, all that stuff. Normally, I think it's kind of gimmicky, but like obviously for like Avatar: The Way of Water, I had to get the D-Box seats, and that was like my best. That movie was like my best in theater experience. This one was pretty damn close, man. Like there's a couple scenes where you're flying over the sand dune and then dropping straight down, whether in those like dragonfly ships or they're riding the giant sandworm, stuff like that.
Yeah.
The D-Box seats and with the AVX screen and all that just added that much more to it. Like it's a movie you don't sit there at home and say, I'll just catch it when it gets released, or I'll just download or something like that. No. It is a movie you need to see in theaters, just like Avatar was.
Yeah.
To do the movie justice, that's how you have to see it.
It's funny. I've only ever watched one movie in D-Box, maybe 2 total, but one in recent memory, and it was Gran Turismo. Is incredible.
Yeah,
because this car movie's fantastic. But even when I was watching it last night, I was kind of thinking to myself, like, this would be a movie worth it.
Yeah, it was. So in this one, obviously we have all the chess pieces get moved across the board.
Yeah.
It's kind of like the reverse Star Wars, where Empire Strikes Back, the bad guys wipe everyone out, but the first one, the good guys win. It flips it on its head, right? The first movie, House Atreides, gets completely annihilated, right?
Yeah.
It's just basically Paul, his mother, Gunny. Is that his name? Gunny?
Yeah.
And a few other, you don't really know who's left, but we see them in this movie. Gurney. Gurney. Sorry, Gurney. You see a few survivors get executed on by Feyd in their like little fake gladiator.
By the way, can we give a shout out to Austin Butler for the job he did playing Feyd-Rautha? Oh my God. He was so uncomfortably creepy. He genuinely bothered me, and that's what made him so good.
Yeah, and like the amount of like people's throats who got slit for no reason in this movie
randomly
was quite high, just randomly.
Yeah,
it just shows you how much they value like life.
Human life. Yeah.
But really, like you said, the heart and soul of this movie though is Paul Atreides, and why am I blanking on Zendaya's character's name?
Chani.
Chani, yeah.
Yeah.
Their kind of story together. And it's not like, yes, there's romance, but like they're divergent paths. And really the second half of the movie takes off where Paul, he's been fighting this like destiny, this Messiah status that's been placed upon him. He's like, nah, I don't want none of that. And then finally he's just like, nah, I'm going to walk that line. And just his ascent from that to where he ends up is just, I thought it was just incredible. Like just the power he exudes. Like when he walks into that meeting of all the Fremen and just
the fundamentalists. Yep.
Yeah. And just starts, yelling at them and challenging everyone. Like,
and then he starts telling them of their past.
Yeah.
That's the craziest thing. He's like, this is who you are. And this is who your mother was. And this is what happened. And this is how she died. And they're just like,
and that's because he took the worm juice, right?
Took the worm juice, and it's in the writing,
the liquid, the
water of life,
the water of life, yeah,
the water of life. I mean, the writing in this is so brilliant, and I hope it doesn't get lost on the fact that it's such a big action, big, beautiful movie.
Yeah,
like the writing of having the only reason he came back to life is because there was water from a desert rose. And Zendaya's real tribe name, I forget what it is, means desert rose. It's not Chani. It's something else. It actually sounds like Zendaya, which was actually kind of funny. She's like, oh, my secret name is, but it literally sounds like Zendaya, but it meant desert rose. So the fact that she's the one that brings him back, and then he's fortunately or unfortunately, a completely different being.
Yeah, his complete attitude shift. And then not only that, when he rallies the people, but in the final fight, when like the High Great Mother, whatever the hell her name is, goes
Reverend
to like,
Mother. Yep.
yeah, goes to tell him something, and he shushes her, and
Oh,
she flies back. When he
so
uses the voice on her,
good.
she's like, you can just see the panic just melt over her face, and
An
they're just like,
abomination. She
yeah,
says
they're just like, oh
afterwards.
yeah. So like he was totally in charge,
Yep.
and just owned that scene. And you could just see everyone, like no one wanted to take a shot at him. It was just, it's going to come down to him versus Feyd, because he was the Emperor's champion, and like
Yep.
that was his game. And it was just, I don't know, it was just such an incredible arc to get to that point. And Denis Villeneuve pretty much confirmed that there will be a part 3. He'll adapt Dune Messiah, the third book.
He would have to.
Yeah.
The way that movie ended.
And from what I haven't read the books. Not a book reader, but I've heard from people that, Paul Atreides' character arc doesn't necessarily end with him being a good guy.
That actually doesn't surprise me.
But we see it in the visions, right? Everyone starts dying, and like, so he's supposed to free Arrakis. But I know that, again, I haven't read the books. I've heard his rule does not necessarily go good for the Fremen.
Yeah, that doesn't surprise me. I think that if they end it at a third movie, I genuinely, and I don't use this word very, very often. In fact, very, very rarely have you ever heard me use it. Part 3 has the ability to be an absolute masterpiece. I mean, this was as close as it gets. But I think what will make it a masterpiece is the fact that when it ends, people might not like it. And I'm so intrigued to see what they do with this. If they take it to 3 and end it, or if they continue on with it. But
because there's 6 books, I believe. So I think, again, correct me in the comments, but I'm assuming the Paul Atreides arc is books 1 to 3, and then maybe they do other stuff after that. But it sounds like it's logical to adapt the first 3 books as the Denis Villeneuve's trilogy.
Yeah.
Plus, he ends it on a kind of a cliffhanger anyway. Like, they could kind of end it there, I guess. But like, literally, all the houses are now
orbiting the planet. Yeah. Around Arrakis.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So like, it's set up for like, pedal to the metal again, right? It's just, and okay, so we've talked about it a little bit, but Denis Villeneuve, how he shoots. You brought up Nolan earlier. His style is kind of very Nolan-esque a little bit, but he definitely has his own stylistic flair. But there's a lot of similarities between the way that the way they shoot stuff. But right now, like for me, I don't think there's any better director in the game right now than Denis Villeneuve.
Well, Denis, it's funny. I mentioned Blade Runner before, and of course, stupid me, I totally forgot. He literally directed Blade Runner 24. But yeah, I mean, he is this generation's, I hate to say this generation's Nolan.
Yeah. From a blockbuster sci-fi fantasy perspective, like directing that. Like, I know there's a ton of like,
I just hope he doesn't sign up
from that perspective
to do a Star Wars movie and ruin it.
The whole time watching, I'm like, why can't Star Wars be like this? Why?
I was waiting for if only he would do a Star Wars movie. No, just leave it alone. It's got to be a curse.
But it's never going to happen either, because he's already done Blade Runner, as you said. Now he's done Dune. Like, why would he then go do Star Wars? He's going to obviously do something else. There's no way he's going to just go to another sci-fi IP.
Yeah.
But like,
his lineup is just so good. Sicario, Arrival, Blade Runner 2024, like
Prisoners. Like, there's
oh my goodness.
Like,
I'm literally looking at this now. It's insane.
He doesn't miss. And his films have like the budget and blockbusterness of the films has escalated, and they just seem to keep getting better. Like, if
he's bringing out Cleopatra, which is in production right now.
Oh, that's another Is he just producing, or is he directing already? Is he directing?
Yeah. Rendezvous with Rama and Cleopatra. Cleopatra's in pre-production.
Yeah, like normally I wouldn't care for a movie about Cleopatra, but like the fact that he's involved, it's going right to the top of my list. Like if you're Kathleen Kennedy, like you at least got to offer him a blank check, right?
At least put it out there to him.
Yeah, and say what number would it take for you to come in and do say the Old Republic? Come in and do our Revan trilogy.
Ooh.
Like
the
Lucasfilm Story Group will not get in your way. Like, here's the check. Just do what you do. Yeah. Like, you got to have the conversation. I know it's not going to happen.
It'll never happen. No.
You could only imagine what he could potentially do. Did you have any critiques or issues with the movie?
And here's the problem.
Or nitpicks, like something minor?
I
got one little one.
The only nitpick I have, and this is probably done for a reason, is I'm very fascinated with his relationship with Chani, obviously. Like I'm all in on this storyline. Yeah. But in one breath he looks at her and says, "I'll love you until I can no longer breathe."
Yeah.
And then as soon as he slays Austin Butler, I keep forgetting the guy's damn name.
Feyd.
He's like, "I'll take your daughter's hand in marriage." I was like,
see, so, okay, I got a different take on that. I thought he already made up his mind. I have to do that to end this. Like, I have to align with the Emperor. So I have to tell Chani one last time, no matter what happens here, I'll always love you because I'm going to do something crazy here.
That's fair. But I mean, what's yours? What's your nitpick?
Mine's kind of dumb and geeky. It's the whole sandworm riding. Like, I know the one he rode was like a grandma worm or grandpa worm, whatever they called it.
Worm, yeah.
Yeah. That was huge. But like the amount of work it took him just to ride that thing.
And now there's 20 of them on there.
Yeah. And then the next scene, his mother's getting a taxi ride. She's like in this little VIP basket. There's like 20 of them all on there. I'm like, how did you all coordinate and get on that damn worm? And then how did they get off? You know what I mean? Like, I know they don't have to show it. You just assume it's done. But like, when you build up a plot point that big, like how hard it is to do, and then it's like the whole tribe's on it, like taking it for a spin. That was the only part that got me a little bit because I'm just like,
I'll give you that. I'll give you that.
And it's like, again, like it's already a almost 3-hour long movie. They don't have to show me how they load everyone on it, but like I was just like,
paced so well though, wasn't it? Like you wanted the next part of the movie to happen. It wasn't a long movie that dragged. Like, I love that they told a sub story and then they went into the next one. They didn't have a lot of bullshit. There was no filler garbage. They literally did a sub story. They hammered the point home and he moved on. Yeah. But that's a fair gripe. But other than that, I don't think I have a single complaint about this movie.
And the one other thing I kind of thought was really cool and loved was I loved all the ambush attacks on the spice miners, whatever they were.
So
the weapons they used, like those lasers were just slicing through that thing.
So
like,
cool.
I was just saying, man, those ambushes are awesome.
Yeah. Yeah, they did those so well.
Yeah. But just again, his vision and visual style he's put into that is just incredible. And you know, the same thing was said about Blade Runner. Visually was just stunning, and the way he's made Arrakis is stunning. I could only imagine what Tatooine would look like.
I was waiting for that.
No, we've talked about how we've talked about how we never want to go back to Tatooine.
Yeah,
but like there's been 100 reviews, thousands of reviews for this, and they've all said the same thing, and everyone's right. Like it is such an incredible theater experience.
Another thing I loved, randomly, I loved his continued conversations with Jamis, the Fremen that he killed at the end of the first movie. The bond, the weird dual world bond that they create. It's not done cheesy. It's done so wholesomely. The only part that weirded me out about the whole movie. Sorry, I'm going to jump to a quick tangent. Is his mother communicating with the unborn baby?
Yeah.
I don't know if I needed to see the baby,
Like the fetus.
I know it's don't get me wrong, like
I know
cinematically it's very cool, but I was
and
like,
it's in the book, but yeah. There's a lot of for everything I understand, there's a lot of weird stuff in the Dune stuff, and the fact that her unborn baby's like giving orders and stuff like that is like kind of crazy.
I loved the continued relationship with Jamis. Hat tip to Christopher Walken as the Empire. I mean, that's perfect. That's so good. He's so Christopher Walken in the whole thing. It's just so good.
I was almost worried. I was like, oh man, is it going to be like, is this going to end up being like a meme or a joke? But I was like, okay, no, he pulled it off. He pulled it off.
Nailed it. Yeah.
And then one other shout out, Stellan Skarsgård.
I was literally just going to say that.
Him as the Baron is just incredible.
That whole family setup. Him as the Baron, Dave Bautista was brilliant as Beast, and then you have Feyd.
Yeah, but like the prosthetics they had on him, the sound effects when his spine kind of like lights up and like start floating,
it's brilliant.
It was just otherworldly. It was crazy. Oh, P.S. Okay, this is another thing I didn't know that I was genuinely shocked by. I don't think this was in David Lynch's Dune. Obviously, it's in the book, but I don't think it was. Since I haven't read the book, it was a surprise to me. Did you know that he was a Harkonnen, Paul?
I did not.
When that happened, I was like, "Oh, damn, we got a little."
When he calls him when he calls him cousin.
Yeah, at the end when he uses that against him.
Because the mother is a daughter of Baron Harkonnen. So his mother, Paul Atreides' mother, the wife of the Duke of Atreides, is the daughter of Baron Harkonnen. I hope there's more to that. Like, I'm okay if they leave it, but now I'm a little curious as to how that all went down.
Well, they set it up.
She said she didn't know.
Yeah.
Until she drank the water of life.
Yeah. And they also set it up too they made mention that what do they call them? The Jesuits, the
Baron Jesuits.
Yeah. They would send one to each great house, and all that stuff has them, right? And they're talking to the one girl. They're like, you know, what's their weakness or whatever. And they're like, oh, the Harkonnens, it's their desire and stuff like that. So it's like, you know, to get in with them, it seemed like they had to get the sack.
Yeah.
So
they lusted for power.
Exactly. With the Baron, that was with the Baron, that was probably his vulnerability too, and that's how they got. And that's my guess on how Child was produced.
But if I'm not mistaken, what's her name? Princess Irulan, who is the daughter of the Reverend Mother, was impregnated by Feyd.
Yeah.
Because after she beds him, she literally like holds her stomach and says the bloodline has been continued.
Yeah.
So did Muad'Dib, Paul Atreides, Ursula just hook up with an already impregnated woman, or?
Yeah. Who knows?
Anyway.
Yeah.
These are the days of our lives.
If anyone's read the book, feel free to clarify the whole.
Yeah, jump in on this. Like, this is something that we know a wee bit about, but it's so neat. Piece. Yeah.
All right. I think that's all my notes on what I loved. Again, it's a fantastic movie.
We ready to rate this thing?
Yeah, I was gonna say, you want to give it a score?
The highest score I've given anything ever is 9.6. And that was episode
The Last of
3 of The Last of Us. I'm going to definitely break that record tonight. This movie for me was a 9.8. I don't even know what could give it a 10. I don't want to give it a 10 because I don't know what's coming, which is really not fair. But this was as close to being a perfect movie. There's only 3 perfect movies. This was incredibly, incredibly good and way overwhelmingly above expectations.
You have 3 10s? What are your 10s?
I have 3 10s.
What are they?
My 3 10s are the remake of Romeo and Juliet, 1997 or 98. Claire Danes and Romeo and Leonardo DiCaprio.
Like the Leo one?
Yep. Number 2 is Avatar, the first one, and number 3 is The Princess Bride. They're 3 perfect movies. There's not a single. I have not a single gripe. They are perfectly executed.
Interesting.
Do you have any perfects?
Off the top of my head, Gladiator would be a perfect for me.
Oh, that Gladiator, Braveheart are very close as well.
Yeah. The other one I think would be pretty close to is Saving Private Ryan for me.
I can't watch it anymore. I can't watch it.
It's just
I watched it once in theater and I can't. Like, I know it's brilliant. It's like Schindler's List.
It's so good,
I can't watch it. It's so good, but it's so raw and so real. I functionally am not able to handle it. And I know that sounds silly. I can't separate myself because it really happened. I really struggle with those 2 movies, even though I know they're brilliant.
Yeah.
But Gladiator, I mean, if it's not a perfect movie, I can't figure out why it wouldn't be. You know what? You're right. You know what? I agree. I'm going to add it as a 4th.
Yeah.
Gladiator is a perfect movie. Yeah, I'll give that.
Okay, so part 2 for me, like you said, I don't know why I wouldn't give it a 10.
It's just not yet. Because it's not Gladiator.
I'm gonna go 9.9, and I if 10 years from now going back and watching, I might be like, you're an idiot. These are all 10s.
These are 10s.
Maybe 3 changes my mind.
Yeah. I would love to rate the arc when it's done, because we could in theory, you could possibly have a 10 as a 3-movie arc. A 10 is a trilogy, which
it could be the greatest trilogy ever made.
100%. It definitely has the ability to be the greatest trilogy ever made.
You don't have any of the Lord of the Rings as a 10?
No, because they're just too fun.
Too fun?
They're just too fun. I love the Lord of the Rings, but Lord of the Rings to me are a 9.2.
Yeah.
Yeah.
It's a different scale, right? Like you could appreciate a movie being a cinematic masterpiece and give it a 10.
100%.
But there's other movies that you would rather probably watch way more because they're so fun in your niche, but they're not perfect. Like for me, like I would take Return of the Jedi on a desert island over almost any movie.
But it's not
by
a 10.
no means. Yeah, exactly.
It's not a 10. It's just awesome.
Yeah.
I'm excited I gained a 4th perfect movie tonight. I'm actually super jazzed by that. But having a 10 as an arc, as a 3 would be, oh my God.
Yeah. Like the first one's a 9, at least a 9. Yeah. This one's pretty much perfect.
The first one for me would be a 9.5.
Yeah.
9.5, 9.6, but they're building. Like, I would increase my number on 1 based on how the entire movie finishes, or the entire arc, because a lot of this could be answered in part 3. So things that I would have been like, in part 1, I'm like,
Yeah, and I would there's no trepidation or worry that they won't stick the landing. Like Denny, his vision's been pretty damn good so far. Like there's and he's working off source material as well.
Yeah,
you know what I mean. Like it's not like he could drastically change things up. Like he's gonna crush it. He's gonna crush it.
There's a rumor that they're gonna re-release the part 1, and I haven't checked to see if they've done it yet. That they're gonna re-release it in IMAX enhanced in physical media.
Yeah,
that might have to happen.
Yeah,
even though I own it in 4K, because you have to own a movie like this. It's like Blade Runner 2049. If I ever watch it again, I'll just go buy it, because you have to watch a movie like that in 4K.
Yeah.
But if they re-release this thing in IMAX for home use, that might be a no-brainer.
It'll be one of those things. If you ever, I know you're always tweaking with your system. Whenever you update, you're like, okay, I got to watch something now to showcase the power.
Yeah.
Those are the type of movies you'll probably be reaching for.
Yeah.
From the old Denis Villeneuve or the Christopher Nolan catalog.
Yep. Yeah, I've got a couple on my list still from Christopher Nolan to pick up in transfers, but I haven't got them yet.
Is The Dark Knight a 10 for you?
No, it's a 9.8, 9.9, but The Dark Knight for me is not a 10.
Close though.
Yeah.
hair off.
And it's one of those, when you get that high,
yeah,
I can't tell you why it's not a 10. It's my number one superhero movie of all time.
Yeah.
Absolutely. But it is not a 10. It doesn't grip me the way this movie did. That's the best way to describe it. I love The Dark Knight, but there is something different about this Dune movie. There is something different about Gladiator. You can't quantify it. But if we sat down and watched The Dark Knight, we'd be like, yeah, that was cool. We sit down and watch Gladiator. You're like half in tears, 3/4 of the way through. And you're so emotionally engaged and you don't know why. There's something that's just intangible about it.
Yeah.
Yeah.
When he's walking through the fields, touching the tops of
You should see it in transfer. You should see it. I got it. I bought it in 4K transfer. It is remarkable. Like the detail, because it was all done. There was really no green screening. Sorry, I know we're going into a bit of a tangent here. But because there was no green screening, it was all shot in raw film. So when they do green screening, you can't get green screen in 4K. So you can have a 4K movie transfer. But the digital stuff behind it shot in like 2K, 2500K, like it's not big. But when you get movies like the Bravehearts of the world and the Gladiators, that was all done for the most part. Like there were little scenes here and there, but for the most part, that was just done in film. Oh my God. Like you can take 35 millimeter film and you can transfer it to the equivalent of 8K at perfect resolution. 70 millimeter film, do the math. You could go to 16K resolution. Getting a movie in 70 millimeter IMAX and getting a 4K transfer of it it's not even describable. It's absolutely mental.
So is that why some of the older movies that you even like, say the first Jurassic Park, since they use practical effects and like live shots, and there is CGI, but like not nearly as much. You can really upscale that.
I have them.
Whereas like shitty old CGI, you can't make that
correct
crisp.
And that's why movies like Top Gun were so good. There's like 4 CGI parts because they only flew a plane for 12 minutes for the entire first movie, tops.
Yeah.
Because they couldn't afford it. But all the other scenes were shot on a 35 millimeter Panavision.
Yeah.
So everything looks brand new. It's so incredibly good. Yeah. One of these days you're gonna have to get down. We'll do a 4K transfer marathon. Braveheart, Gladiator, Jurassic.
Sign me up.
I like that play.
All right. Well, will wrap it up.
Awesome. Yeah, this is fun. Oh God, I enjoyed this.
All right. So we'll wrap this up. Let us know in the comments. Obviously you love Dune. And if you haven't seen it, like what the hell are you waiting for?
Yeah.
And
I'll go see it again.
And let us know in the comments. If you've read the books, what is that family dynamic between the Atreides and the Harkonnens going on with who's related to who? I'd be interested in reading that.
Yeah.
All right. Peace out, everyone. We'll see you actually on Wednesday evening for the Bad Batch.
Of course.
All right. Bye-bye.